All right, welcome to today's Explainer. I am honestly so excited to get into this one with you because we're tackling one of the absolute greatest mind benders in human history. So, I want you to picture this. Imagine the fastest, most legendary warrior in all of ancient Greece. We're talking about Achilles, right? A guy with literally unmatched speed and strength. Now imagine him stepping up to the starting line to race a tortoise. It sounds completely ridiculous. Biologically, it's the ultimate mismatch. You've got the guy who basically invented the fast twitch muscle running against a reptile that's built like a heavily armored rock. It's not even a competition. But, hold on a second. Let's make it just a tiny bit more interesting. Let's give that tortoise a head start.
Okay, let's dive into this. What we're really looking at today is a total head-on collision. On the one hand, we've got common sense. Common sense tells literally every single one of us that Achilles is going to cover that distance and catch the tortoise in the blink of an eye. There's no debate. But on the other side, we have Zeno's logic. And according to this incredibly famous 2,400-year-old paradox, Achilles never catches it. Ever. We are looking at a direct conflict between our real-world, everyday intuition and a logical trap where the invincible warrior seemingly just never wins. How is that even possible?
Section 1. The Architect. Who exactly was Zeno?
Well, Zeno of Elea lived in ancient Greece way back in the 5th century BCE. And the thing is, he wasn't just making up random riddles for fun. He was a deeply devoted student of another philosopher, a guy named Parmenides. And Parmenides had this truly radical, totally mind-bending belief. He actually argued that motion and change are pure illusions. Basically, he claimed that movement itself isn't real. Nothing actually moves. Now think about it. If you're Zeno and your teacher is walking around telling everyone that movement doesn't exist, people are going to think you're both out of your minds. So Zeno needed a way to vigorously defend his teacher's bizarre claim.
And to defend Parmenides, Zeno didn't just, write a sternly worded essay. He invented the paradox. He created a logical puzzle that was specifically designed to just completely break our understanding of reality. Zeno's goal wasn't just to trick you. He wanted to weaponize logic to prove that our everyday perception of reality, the stuff we literally see with our own two eyes, is fundamentally broken. And the most famous of these reality-breaking weapons? You guessed it, the race between Achilles and the tortoise.
Section 2. The Infinite Trap. Let's look at the mechanics.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the trap snaps shut. Since Achilles is obviously way faster, the tortoise gets a 100-meter head start. Boom, the race begins. Step 1. Achilles runs that 100 meters to the exact point where the tortoise started. But wait a minute. During the time it took Achilles to run that 100 meters, the tortoise didn't just freeze, right? It kept moving forward a little bit. So now Achilles has to reach this new position. Step 3, he runs to that new spot. But again, by the time he gets there, the tortoise has moved slightly farther ahead. And this process just repeats. Every single time Achilles reaches where the tortoise was, the tortoise has already moved somewhere else. It is a completely infinite loop.
Which leads us to a massive, glaring question. How can Achilles ever overtake the tortoise if he must first complete infinitely many steps? I really want you to stop and think about that. Feel that deep cognitive dissonance for a second. Your brain absolutely knows Achilles wins, right? But the logic stubbornly insists that he has to cross an endless number of checkpoints before he can even take the lead. This is the exact frustration that tortured the absolute brightest philosophers for centuries.
Section 3. The Infinity Problem. The issue of endless distances.
The real threat here, the thing that makes this work, is the terrifying idea of infinity itself. I mean, intuitively, completing infinitely many tasks sounds completely impossible. Achilles has to complete the first distance, then he has to complete a smaller distance, then another, then another, then another. See how those steps just keep getting smaller and faster, forever? If there are infinitely many distinct points that Achilles has to reach, well, shouldn't the race take forever? Zeno's argument honestly seems mathematically airtight.
And it all culminates in this one profound philosophical question. Can infinite processes ever produce a finite result? This single question just completely challenged the foundations of human thought. How can an endless sequence of events ever come to a concrete end? We have to figure out a way to break this infinite loop.
Section 4. The Rescue. A mathematical solution.
Now, what's really interesting to look at here is the actual mathematical proof. The answer to this ancient mystery finally came through the concepts of infinite series and limits. Yes, there are infinitely many steps, but notice what is actually happening to the distances themselves. Achilles runs 100 meters, then the next step is 10 meters, then 1 meter, then a tenth of a meter. So even though there's an endless number of steps, the actual distances are rapidly shrinking.
They're basically collapsing towards zero.
And here is the deeply satisfying climax of the whole puzzle, a finite total. When you take these endlessly shrinking infinite distances, the 100 plus the 10 plus 1 plus a tenth and so on, and you add them all up, they don't actually equal infinity. Mathematically, they equal a distinct finite number. The infinite steps fit perfectly inside a finite amount of space and time. It's brilliant.
Let's move ahead and see how this builds across history, because it is just amazing. We started way back in the 5th century BCE with Zeno's seemingly impossible puzzle. But that very puzzle laid the essential groundwork for the 17th century. Simply because of the need to solve problems exactly like this one, Isaac Newton and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz developed calculus. And that brings us to modern math, where we now formally understand that an infinite sequence can converge to a finite value. Thanks to the invention of calculus, we finally have the exact mathematical tools to definitively prove that yes, Achilles does eventually pass the tortoise. The math completely checks out.
Section 5. The legacy. Why the paradox still matters.
So the truly crucial point here is the contrast between two things. On one side, we have what we see. That's our lived physical experience where Achilles obviously blows right past the tortoise. But on the other side, we have what logic implies. It's the realization that common sense alone cannot fully explain reality. Zeno proved that sometimes the universe is much, much stranger than our eyes suggest. We can't always just trust what we see. We have to rigorously test it.
The intellectual weight of this single, seemingly silly race is just immense. It literally forced humanity to rigorously define infinity, space, time, motion, and even the limits of logic itself. Zeno genuinely changed human thought forever. In fact, even today, modern quantum physics and advanced mathematics are still constantly wrestling with these profound concepts of infinity and continuity. And it's all because an ancient Greek philosopher decided to put a warrior and a reptile on a racetrack.
As the saying goes, sometimes the simplest questions create the deepest mysteries. It is absolutely incredible that wondering how a fast runner passes a slow one inspired the invention of calculus, but it leaves us with one final, kind of unsettling thought. If pure math can prove that our everyday perception of motion is actually just a sequence of infinite, shrinking fractions, what else are our eyes lying to us about right now? Thanks for exploring this explainer with me. Catch you next time.